Looks like the sins of London have followed us home.
Remember Owen Shaw? This is his big bad brother.
We're being hunted.
She fast on my furious till I seven. No, she fast on my seven till I furious. No, she fast.
She intermittently fasted on my furious 7 times. I guess it's a D+ joke.
Welcome to Bomb Squad Matinee. I'm your host and master of ceremony, Tanner Richard Kraft, and with me I have...
I'm Rein Conversey.
I'm a man who's here for one thing and one thing only. The movies.
AKA known as Joseph Rennick. Yeah, I don't know if Tim's going to keep all that nonsense in, but if he does, that's right. We're talking about Furious 7. It turns 10 years old this year, and it's a movie that I think all of us like. Rein and I especially like. But before we get into our thoughts on the movie, we gotta do a warm-up question. So for the warm-up question, this movie, its opening scene is a pretty effing baller villain introduction. So my question to you is, other than this movie obviously, what's your favorite villain introduction in a movie? Rein, we'll start with you.
God damn. All right, I'll be honest. I did not have time. I've been very, very busy today.
I can tell.
Yes, I've been doing a billion things. I just got done folding laundry right before we recorded. I was stalling. Anyway, my actual answer, I know in my heart of hearts, would be just the opening villain for this movie, Station Statham's character. That is the actual truth. But if I had to think of a different character, oh boy. I see Marvel things. Fuck it, I will go with Thanos. You know, that is definitely not... I mean, it's a good introduction. Almost certainly not my second favorite actual answer, but I can't think of anything else right now. So I will say Thanos. It's a great classic way. Great textbook example of a great way to introduce a big villain. Hey, have him beat up the one of the big bads that we've already previously seen, while wrapping up that character's arc, while also kind of being, you know, not to do the whole poetic, it's like poetry that they rhyme George Lucas bit, but it is like poetry that rhymes. Hey, the first villain of the Avengers movie gets killed by the final villain of, you know, that arc of Avengers movies, and yeah, shows him as an intimidating force, gets you some, if I remember right, some idea of his character. Maybe I'm making that up out of my head. And then he beats up the Hulk. He makes the Hulk look like a little whiny baby, which is, you know, again, textbook. You know, in the storytelling textbook, if you want to show your villain is a tough guy, it says it in the book. You should beat up the Hulk. All right, you know what? Considering how horrible I am at just like coming up with stuff on the spot, I feel like that was not too terrible by my standards. So round of applause to me. Not really. Back to you, Tanner.
Good stuff. Yeah, Thanos is a great introduction. Yeah. I think even people that don't particularly care for Infinity War got to admit, like, that opening scene immediately establishes him as the fucking threat pretty effectively.
Yeah. It is a genuinely, and I say this as someone who's kind of soured on that movie since, it's a genuinely great intro for Thanos.
Yeah, it gets
just
the point across.
Just a great intro for that movie.
Yeah. It gets you right on, like, immediately. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I will say, I remember I worked at a movie theater like summer of 2018. That movie was still playing in theaters while I was working at the theater, cleaning up in between. And it was definitely one of the better movies to like be having to see like a billion times a day.
And you know, here's something interesting about Infinity War, which is that it came out 3 years after the movie we're talking about today, and Infinity War came out 7 years ago. Boys, we're getting old.
Shut the fuck up, Tanner.
Sorry, what was that? Almost 30?
Shut the fuck up, Tanner.
Well, Joe, since you've said shut the fuck up plenty of times, let's just go ahead and move on over to you. What is your favorite introduction to a villain in a movie?
All right, so I'm going to rattle off some honorable mentions here real quick, because I thought of a ton of them. Starting off with the Joker and the Dark Knight, but we already kind of...
Hold on.
Yeah.
I just want to say for the record that while Rein was talking, I wrote down on Notepad that Joe will say The Dark Knight. So thank you for giving me that right off the bat.
You're welcome. I'm so happy that you predicted that. But he's
predictable in a good way.
But the Joker in The Dark Knight, it's a great villain intro. But I already talked about a little bit about that on the Dark Knight podcast. Go watch that after you're done here. I could also say Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs. Silva from Skyfall, a movie that I watched recently. That's a good villain intro. Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. Javier Bardem, great villain actor. Generic answer: Hans Landa in Glorious Bastards. I don't remember if you guys talked about it a lot on the Inglourious Bastards podcast, but go watch that after you're done here. And my last honorable mention, Darth Vader from Star Wars A New Hope. Great intro, very simplistic intro. Like, you don't need much, and you know just, like, everything that guy's about. But mine's going to be a fascinating answer, maybe. I'm going with the shark from Jaws.
You've got to be fucking kidding me. That was my answer! God damn it!
Do you have a backup at least? I feel bad now.
I have a pretty good backup, I think.
Okay.
But god damn it, I thought like no one's ever gonna see this answer coming. Fuck you! God damn it!
That's incredible. But yeah, no. The shark from Jaws. The titular Jaws himself. It's a great intro that not only sets up just like how intimidating this goddamn thing is going to be for the rest of the movie, but it just sets the tone right out the gate with that intro. Just, this thing is terrifying. We don't even see the damn shark, but we know what he is about. It's like the Darth Vader intro. It's simple yet very effective. I wish movies were simple yet effective, like they were in the old days a lot of the times. But that's going to be my pick. I apologize, Tanner. Back to you. Have fun. This is what you get for bringing up how I'm almost 30, by the way.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Well, my answer was going to be really cool and smart and interesting with the shark and Jaws. But then this asshole took it from me. But I think I have another one that makes me look smart. Excuse me.
Zachary Levi and Harold and the Purple Crayon.
God damn it! How did you know? May 6, 1915, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a man was born. That man would go on to be one of the most important artists to ever live in both radio and in film. That man's name was Orson Welles. And his most well-known film is probably Citizen Kane. And for good reason. It has a reputation of being arguably the greatest movie ever. And again, for good reason, because it's an amazing movie. But I don't think it's the best movie Orson Welles was ever involved in. As a matter of fact, I would say the best movie that Orson Welles was ever involved in. Now, he did not direct it, but he did write it, and he did star in it. In 1949, Orson Welles starred as the character Harry Lime in The Third Man. The first hour of the movie basically is nonstop talking about the horror of this guy. And like, just, you know, he's been, you know, it's been talked up. A lot of talking up of Harry Lime, right? And then finally, when our main character is walking around at night, he finally sees a glimpse of his reflection in a window. And it's played so incredibly awesome. It's so subtle, but it's so awesome. And Orson Welles then proceeds to take over the rest of the movie. And mind you, the Harry Lime is introduced like what, 2/3 into the movie's runtime, arguably? It gets deep in the movie without introducing him.
I was gonna say, he's not in the movie for like the vast majority of it.
Yeah.
But when he shows up, he fucking dominates it. It's incredible. I think I like the shark a little bit more, but if we're gonna talk about movie villains, this is a pretty great one.
I'm not gonna lie, Tanner. I was waiting for you to make a Transformers the movie joke the whole
I
time.
thought that's what I was expecting a Unicron joke, where it's like, sure, some people say Citizen Kane, I guess, but obviously then real answers.
And then I said I said like something legit, and you guys were like, "Oh, huh?"
I was like, oh, he's actually doing something smart.
Yeah.
Who thought someone would bring up the third man on a Furious 7 podcast?
Anyway, final answer is Austin Powers in the Dr. Evil in the first Austin Powers movie. Final answer.
Not a bad pick either. Not gonna lie.
No, it's not. But in all seriousness, if I had to pick an all-time favorite, it's probably the opening scene of this movie. Jason Statham, Furious 7. It's pretty fucking amazing. Go ahead, Rein.
I want to waste 10 seconds by saying another great villain opening. The one guy from the bad guy from Step Brothers. I'm blanking on the character's name.
Oh, the
brother.
Adam Scott character.
Yeah, Adam Scott's douchey brother character. Perfect villain opening.
Yeah.
Definitely, probably one of the best. Anyway, one of the best for a comedy.
Actually, if we want to talk about an all-time great villain introduction, Frankenstein and Frankenstein. It's so good it makes you moan.
Yeah.
It
makes me feel very uncomfortable.
That's a very
sorry.
Sorry, no, go. It's a very inside baseball joke that only us three and maybe Tim will understand.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, what Tanner said.
For context, the three of us plus some others were in a horror appreciation class in college. We watched Frankenstein, and when they finally showed Frankenstein for the first time, I audibly went, ugh. Like in a or like, or something like that.
Tanner fucking orgasmed when.
And this is after I was also audibly snoring through the first like 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. I actually forgot that was the same movie. I remember that. I remember hearing you snoring, but I just assumed in my head it was like, oh, it was a different movie. You wouldn't be moaning and then also asleep for the same movie.
Yeah, I was asleep for 20 minutes, woke up 5 minutes later, Frankenstein pulled up and I moaned. I don't know what the fuck I was on about that day.
I mean, it's a great movie. Like some other movies that are also great.
Such as Furious 7.
You thought this was gonna be a street fight? You're goddamn right it is.
It is arguably the best Fast and Furious movie. It is a great blockbuster. What makes it great? Joe, we'll start with you.
All right, so I've been binge watching the Fast and Furious movies. Now that my James Bond binge is over, I need something to kind of fill the void for a little bit until I watch all the Mission Impossible movies in May. I'm gonna need to find something to fill the void that Fast and Furious is leaving behind really quick.
Jason Bourne.
To do Born Again?
Just do Born Again.
Hell yeah. But yeah, no. So I've been rewatching all these Fast and Furious movies, and I saw this on the schedule, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump at the chance at this because I can probably get to Furious 7 pretty quick. Sure enough, I did. I watched it today. I think I'm finally ready to admit that this really is the best of the Fast and Furious franchise. Like Fast 5, I will still stand by as like maybe one of the greatest blockbusters of the last 20 years or so. Like that movie is very tight, efficient, and just kind of knows what it is. And the same can be said here. I think what elevates it over Fast 5, though, is its emotional core. Because let's be real here. Like, everyone knows the story behind this movie.
What do you
Everyone
mean?
knows.
What happened?
Oh, Tanner, I've got some news for you. So you know that title card that appears like right before the credits come up that says for Paul?
Yeah.
They're all Paul McCartney fans. They just wanted to celebrate Paul McCartney.
Joe, stop making this. Stop. This is inappropriate. All right, I'll tell you what actually happened. From what I remember. So Pitbull, he was in a submarine, with like that was being operated by like a PS5 controller.
What the?
But then they passed during it, and it was like, what? How are we gonna make this a Fury 7 movie without a Pitbull song? Sorry, this is.
Actually, no, I have it completely wrong. The for Paul mention at the very end. Little did we know that the Fast and Furious fans are big Revolutionary War history buffs. They wanted to dedicate the movie to Paul Revere.
All right,
So
we're finally done doing the bit. It's Paulie D.
No, guys, the for Paul at the end, it was actually for Paul Walker, and it was about his ex-girlfriend. Don't Google that. Don't Google that. Don't Google Paul Walker ex-girlfriend. You're not gonna like what you find out.
oh Jesus!
Unless
Christ.
you're like being like, hey, what? Why
Unless
are
you
Joe
hate
and
Paul
Rein?
Walker.
Why are Joe and Rein making fun of the death of this man? So inappropriate. And it's like you're not wrong, but also maybe if you are thinking that too much, maybe you should Google that.
Nobody's perfect. I'm not saying Paul Walker was like an irredeemable human being because of this, but just don't Google it if you like Paul Walker and want to keep it that way.
Yeah. But you know who really did love Paul Walker? The crew and cast of this movie.
I honestly thought you were just gonna say Vin Diesel, and I was gonna agree.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. Vin Diesel loves that man to death.
Boy, did he!
And you absolutely feel that in this movie for the most part. Like there's scenes that are just solely dedicated just to like specifically Paul Walker and his character that hit an emotional resonance. Like not just for his character, but just the actor in general. I mean, everyone knows the ending of this movie. That's probably the biggest example of it. Upon rewatch, the phone call between him and Mia hits very differently right before the climax. It feels like a last conversation between those two.
Which is crazy considering that was a deleted scene from Fast 5.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
I didn't
true
know that.
story.
That's honestly very, very efficient filmmaking on James Wan's part, because man, oh man, he unfortunately drew the short stick with that unfortunate situation that happened. I could not imagine this movie being a fun time to make in the slightest. It was probably a humongous pain in the ass, but James Wan, very efficient filmmaker. He knows what he's doing, and this is still the highest grossing Fast and Furious movie, right? I'm not wrong in saying this.
Fate of the Furious? No. Let me Google it. I'm pretty sure it is.
It's obviously Hobbs and Shaw.
That's true.
Regardless, there's a reason why this movie made over $1 billion and was like one of the highest grossing movies of all time, and still is. Because it like Furious 5 or Fast 5, sorry. It knows what it is. It doesn't try to be anything else. Honestly, it cranks the stupidity up to 11. We'll probably talk about some of the greatest moments of this movie in general discussion. But overall, I'll say this. I've finally come around. This really is the best of the Fast and Furious franchise. And I haven't even rewatched the rest of this series yet. So I'm staking my claim there. Movie good. Back to you, Tanner.
Correct. Now that we have the more, high praise, slightly more tepid praise from Joe, Rein, are you ready for you and I to go fucking ape shit right now? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I wish I had my ape mask with me. It's downstairs. But so yeah, growing up, Fast and Furious was never really a big part of my life. It just never occupied any brain space in my head. I'd never watched them until like later part of college. I had a big marathon with some friends. It was an amazing experience. Just spent like a whole weekend doing that. Culminated for sure with Furious 7. That was the peak of the experience. I know there's a lot of people who say most people it's either that or Fast 5. Understand people saying Fast 5, it's probably like the second or third best of them. But I don't know, I don't know what it is. It's just I feel like it is like I don't know how I should put it. One of those friends I saw it with, one of my friends, current friends, former roommate, we agree, we use this term, a term that we almost always just use ironically, but purely 100% genuinely, completely serious. Like, this is pure cinema. This is just like the best form of, like, it is it silly? Is it is it like lowbrow? Yes, it is extremely silly and lowbrow, but it is like getting, I wish I could think of like a smarter, like a more a smarter artist to use than just to say Leonardo da Vinci, but I'm going to use Leonardo da Vinci. It's like if Leonardo da Vinci, if you had him paint like a still life, still life wasn't really a thing when he was around, but fuck it, let's just go with it. If he painted a still life of like a Four Loko can, that is how I would describe how I would describe the artistry here, where it's like this is like pure craft. I don't know. I feel there's only so many ways where I can say like this movie is very well made. Like, it's so well made that I think it elevates it to like just an extra level, and shows like it doesn't matter like how silly or how straight. Like, you can be the silliest thing in the world if you were a master. If it is a masterful expression of craft, it is a masterful expression of craft. I'm not doing a great job explaining why it is, but that is just a fault of my mere mortal brain, not a fault of the movie, so do not fault the movie for that. Things to say about it. Like we spent like probably the first 10 minutes talking about this is the best villain introduction. This is the I might have already summed up my thoughts pretty well. So I've been very busy. I didn't have a chance to actually make my notes. I guess the last thing I will say for my review is my last viewing of it was like about 6 months ago at my birthday, with friends who've seen it a million times before and loved it just as much as those million times before. But I also got to see what my roommates saw it. It was their first viewing. No, very few things more magical, other than maybe, I guess, like seeing your child born. But like other than that, nothing better than like having someone for the first time see, hey, someone's I'm blanking on the on the line, but like, daddy's gotta get to work. Busting it open.
God, yes.
Sometimes, yes. It's the streets that.
The thing about street fights is the
street always wins.
Stomps parking garage so hard it collapses.
I could just keep doing. They're like, how are they going to get out of this when they're driving through that building? And then the shot of them driving out of the building into the other building.
Cars don't fly, Dom. Cars don't fly, Dom.
Yeah, and we will continue to mention those scenes. Yes, a very general review, but I hope my spirits and that sort of good analogy I made earlier make up for that. Back to you, Tanner.
Yes. So like, all great stuff. I 100% agree. My time to shine. Hello. So like, this is the greatest movie ever made, right? Right?
I do think.
When you're watching it, it feels like it.
I do think. Sorry, like two other thoughts.
Go ahead.
I just remembered. So I think, in like 100 years, I don't know what the state of the film industry is going to be like, or even the medium in general. But what it's going to look like. Maybe it's going to be super niche. Whatever. I am confident though, like in 100 years, when you're taking a cinema studies class, they're talking about like great works of art from like the 20th and 21st centuries, particular. Because another thing is, I do think there is. I've said it a million times. I've said it several times in this podcast. I still haven't put the work into like figuring out how to articulate better. But I do think there's a special value to big pop art where where it's in its ability to grab the emotions of like anyone from any corner of the world, no matter their language, origin, class, race, gender, all that. if like being, I think there's a special value there that we don't tend to modern day media analysis people don't put enough value in. But I do think on that level, I think, you know, something like this, like, I think it's going to be talked about. It should at least be talked about on the same level of something like Ben-Hur, Titanic, like, of these, like, just, like, great examples of, like, the, like, gold standard for blockbuster filmmaking. All right, now I'm done for real. Sorry, back to you, Tanner, for real this time.
No, I 100% agree. You know, when you're watching Furious 7, you briefly begin to wonder, no, this is the best car action movie to come out in 2015. Then you remember Mad Max Fury Road exists and you go, okay, well,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
they're perfect for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. This movie is perfect. To prove this to you, Rein Conversi has given this movie a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. He never fucking does that.
I kind of have a little bit of a problem bell curving everything, where I tend to give stuff, I don't give stuff really low or really high scores, but I had to give this, it's inarguable. It needed it. Ignore the fact that it only had I only gave it like a 4 out of 5 up until today, and when I realized my mistake and fixed it promptly.
Yeah, no, like, I was watching this movie, I was at a 4 out of 5 before this, but after I finished watching it, I was like, what would I change? What do I think isn't working?
Yeah.
Like, you can't change this. It's perfect. For what it is fucking perfect. Every action set piece is fucking amazing. Like, early on when you have The Rock versus Statham, and yeah, is it kind of silly that they have to punch each other an equal amount of times to get pushed through the same amount of glass? Sure. But they're able to choreograph, the choreography is great enough that they're able to work around it.
Mm-hmm.
This movie briefly gets back to the racing roots of the franchise at the very beginning, which leads to perhaps the funniest line. Joe knows where I'm going here. The funniest fucking line in any of these goddamn movies, which is like the first or second goddamn thing Vin Diesel says in this movie. He's driving with Letty, trying to, you know, jog her memory, and she's like, "Where are we going?" And he turns to her and says, "Race wars." You can't be saying that, Vin Diesel.
Well, hold on.
You can't be saying that.
Well, hold on. He makes it worse because Letty is then like, "We used to go to this," and then Vin just looks at her and goes, "We invented it." Like, don't say that, Vin. Don't say that.
Vin Diesel is so, you know, Hollywood likes this term for actors like Vin Diesel, which is racially ambiguous.
Yeah.
That's true though. People like Vin Diesel, like, there's a big thing with Vin Diesel where, like, this is not a common topic of conversation, but I've heard people ask, what ethnicity is Vin Diesel? And that causes arguments somehow, which is fascinating to me. Vin Diesel's ethnicity is car.
Yeah.
Side note, he did it. I think I talked about it with Tanner before. Yeah, he directed a really good short film, actually, about, like, you know, being, like, racially ambiguous, that y'all should check out. I think it's called Multifacial.
And how that's actually hard.
Yeah, no, it's a great great film.
It was hard at the time. I think it kind of became in vogue in Hollywood.
There's a very interesting and complicated discussion. That
maybe the Furious 7 podcast isn't the avenue for.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, from race wars all the way to Daddy Gotta Get to Work. Every line of dialogue in this movie is the greatest line of dialogue ever written. Everything about this movie is perfect. Everything about this movie is perfect. Even the sleazy misogyny of this movie is perfect. It's mostly because it gets called out on. One of the bigger laughs I had on this watch is when Ludacris and Tyrese are all talking about how fucking hot Ramsey is. And Letty just comes over and they're like, "The fuck's wrong with you guys?"
Yeah, I have no place to say this, and if this is not the, you know, the impression women get, then, you know, then fuck me, understand, then fully not. But it feels so juvenile and extreme, like but it's like so high, it's so oversaturated, but in such a juvenile way. I don't know, I'm just thinking, like, it wouldn't, I don't know, it's hard, something like that, where it's just so, like, childish. I guess it makes it like it makes it less like poisonous. I don't know. You can also argue it's the exact opposite. It makes it worse because it's so. I don't know.
It's not my place to say, but it's almost too stupid to get mad at.
Yeah, I'm willing to slightly bet that it is so dumb. Like, because I'm trying to think like I guess like an autism equivalent where if it's like
off to a great start. Like, off to a great start with that sentence.
I'm trying like something where I would have a place to like judge it a depiction. All right, you know what? Maybe I'm.
You want a shovel? You want a shovel for this hole?
Yeah. I was trying to make that analogy. All right.
I was trying to reel you out by just saying it's too stupid to get mad at, and then you're like, no, I can keep digging. I love you, Rein. No, this is the greatest movie ever made. Once again, just every scene is just like candy for the eyeballs and action. You know, all the way from fucking driving through a bunch of towers. And then there's some great shit like Tyrese is like, all right, isn't it your birthday? And Ludacris is like, oh no, not the birthday thing. Have we seen this before? No, we haven't.
We have not. As someone who has rewatched all these as someone who's rewatched all these damn movies, I have zero fucking idea what they're talking about. They've not done this before at all.
The birthday thing. They're doing the birthday thing. He's doing the birthday thing.
He's doing
the movie's so amazing that like Ronda Rousey's terrible acting is like charming.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go that far.
No, it's charming. I love the way she says bitch.
I mean, she did a good job with the fight choreography, I guess.
Yeah, the fight choreography was great.
Yeah, that's fine, but man, oh man, whenever she says a line of dialogue, I'm just like, man, Gal Gadot's looking like an Oscar winner right now.
Gal Gadot's scenes were deleted from this movie. I do think that's worth mentioning.
I was about to say, I don't remember seeing her.
They filmed scenes with her. They got deleted. Not the point. Anyway, you know what? We're just going to go to general discussion after a brief commercial break. It's clear that I don't have coherent thoughts other than the greatest movie ever made. Daddy got to get to work. Flex out of cast. So we'll see you here after a brief commercial break.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Hi, welcome back from that ad break for another ad. See that shit? That's a movie palette. That's one for Punch Drunk Love. You can go to the website, moviepalette.com. You can order one of your own for Furious 7, for Punch Drunk Love, for Fast 5, for Fast and Furious 6, for The Fate of the Furious, for F9, for Fast X, for The Fast and the Furious, for Fast and Furious, for Too Fast, Too Furious, and Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Add all 10 of them to your cart. And then add an 11th for Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. Add that one to your cart. But before you check out, enter the code SQUAD15 to save 15% on your order, because that'll make a huge difference when you're spending. That's got to be approaching $700 if you're putting over 10 movie palettes on your cart. And now,
they'll give us some money.
Yes, it will. Back to the show. Speaking of money, this movie made a lot of money. It was, in fact, the fastest movie to gross $1 billion at the time. It hit $1 billion faster than Avatar.
Man, oh man, I don't remember reading headlines about box office numbers around that time, but man, oh man, you got to think the people writing those reports had come up with like basically the same pun, just regurgitated over and over again in trades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
Fast and Furious 7 speeds to $1 billion.
Yeah. They love their puns. They love their stupid fucking puns, and I hate them. I think they should all die.
Yeah, it's getting to a point where it's like when you can predict the puns, you might as well just basically just say, it did this. Done.
Folks, Furious 7 has sped to $1 billion at the box office.
Okay,
Trump just says that in like an Oval Office address tomorrow. He like does the thing where the president can hijack your TV and he just talks about Furious 7 for 20 minutes. Bro, give me like 5 minutes and I could convince Trump that all of these movies actually happened.
and then tell him to give a national address about it.
Folks, these maniacs in cars, we have to stop them.
we need to bring in Dominic Toretto.
Where's God's eye? The American government doesn't have God's eye.
You stole the God's eye. That DEA agent Luke Hobbs. We gotta lock him up.
I
did,
think-
but then he escaped custody. We need to get him locked up again.
I do think it's interesting that this movie, much like a similar blockbuster with an amazing opening scene that introduces the villain, has weird monitoring software. Yes, I am in fact making a parallel with The Dark Knight here. The God's Eye technology kind of feels like the end game of what Lucius Fox gave Bruce in The Dark Knight. And it's a good thing this movie's so silly and funny because the implications of that technology is fucking terrifying. I wish Austin was here because I know he could go on a killer 2.5-minute rant about it.
He probably
yeah.
would, yeah. But yeah, no, it's like they don't even fucking address it in Fast and Furious 7, and probably for the best. But like, man, oh man, yeah, no, it's fucking terrifying. But like in The Dark Knight, no, they flat out say, no, this is not a good thing to have. We need to get rid of this.
No, for sure. So yeah, greatest movie ever made. Greatest movie ever made. I watched this movie today, and all I can think of is greatest movie ever made. Because it is, in fact, the greatest movie ever made. And you want to know something? I think it's really impressive that this movie's like a perfect blockbuster, considering its second lead is Paul Walker. And that's not Paul Walker for half the movie. Kind of impressive how seamlessly they managed to pull it off. And honestly, I don't know what it was. This time, I couldn't really notice the CGI at the end on his face. I don't know why. I just couldn't notice it this time. I remember him looking really shiny when I watched it in theaters. He didn't look that shiny here.
I do think. I was gonna say, I do think. If you look really hard, you can kind of tell sometimes, but it's a really good effect.
It's sadly an effect that set a very scary precedent, but at the same time, the couple of times where you can tell it's an effect, it's not like super distracting. I think the only time where it looks like genuinely not good is like for like maybe a couple of frames when he's running off to Jordana Brewster with his son at the very end. But it's like a wide shot, and it looks not the best composed. The rest of it, though, even when you can kind of tell that it's not really him, it's for the most part pretty seamless, and it's seamless in like they make sure that you do not notice that it's an effect in the most important parts of that movie as well. So they knew how to use it properly.
When I watched it this time, like I was really looking for it. There's a lot of there's a really awesome fight scene with Brian in the third act in LA. He's entirely in shadows the entire time.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe it's one of his brothers there or a stunt double.
Yeah. No, I figured that was one of the ones where, it was like, oh, simple fix, just keep him in shadow.
But you just don't realize it because the fight's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And also it helps.
Sorry.
I was gonna say it helps morally too. I guess the fact that it's like, the guy, he lived and breathed the franchise, so we know, like, I feel like we can pretty confidently say, like, he was, if like we told him, hey, this is what we're going to do if you were to pass, he'd be like, yeah, sure, definitely, please do.
And they have never brought him back since, but every new Fast and Furious trailer I see, I get terrified.
Yeah, that's true. Unlike, which I say to differentiate between something like Grand Moff Tarkin's actor or the guy from Ghostbusters, where it's like, would they have consented to this? I know their family consented to this, but would they have been? Thankfully, not an issue with this movie, I feel like.
Yeah.
But,
I do think it's worth keeping in mind that a crucial difference between that versus the Ghostbusters Harold Ramis thing or the Peter Cushing Grand Moff Tarkin thing, I think a pretty crucial difference is that Paul Walker already filmed half his scenes for this movie when he died.
That's true.
Right.
They didn't revive him for a movie that came out, in the case of both of those actors, at least a decade after their deaths.
Yeah.
In this case, it was literally, well, we have to finish the movie. And fun fact, James Wan, like a couple days after Paul Walker died, James Wan got on the phone with Universal executives, and trying to figure out how to chart a path forward, and they did apparently legitimately consider scrapping what they have shot and starting over. I think it's for the best they didn't.
I was gonna say I don't think it would have worked if they did that.
Mm-hmm.
That movie is so emotionally charged that, like, if they went in a different direction, it probably wouldn't. It would not have been as effective.
Yeah,
and it probably would not have grossed over $1 billion.
Yeah, that was the thing. Paul Walker's the Fast and Furious franchise ever since like the fourth movie had been progressively making more money every year. Like I think Fast and Furious 6 made like $750 million worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
This movie about doubled the gross of the sixth movie, and I do think a big part of that, at least domestically, was well, the last two movies were awesome, but then another big part was, well, shit, how are they gonna pull this off?
Yeah.
It
is. It's interesting because, like, obviously we know this personally very well that making movies is hell. No matter how, like, so many great fantastic movies where it's like you look at the production history and it's like a war zone.
Oh, but, 7 people died. Crazy.
But yeah. But it's still shocking. Again, we at least one of the best movies ever, one of the best blockbusters ever. But then yet it had so much on its plate. So yeah, kudos to James Wan. I feel like he's not a director I feel like I talk about enough. But yeah, kudos to you, guy.
It is like actually so insane that the last 3 movies he did before Furious 7 was Insidious Chapter 2, The Conjuring, and Insidious.
Yeah.
To go from those mid-budget, well-directed horror movies to a $1.5 billion grosser with a $190 million budget, and the level of confidence, the level of control over, like, you hear that and you think, oh, James Wan is just some filmmaker they hired so they can bully him. No, he has a distinct style as an action filmmaker that he would later only go on to refine in very interesting ways with like the Aquaman movies and Malignant.
Yeah.
But like, I like, this might be a hot take considering James Wan directed my all-time favorite horror movie, but I think I like James Wan, the blockbuster director, more than James Wan, the horror director.
Interesting.
I do think I've not seen any of the Insidious movies. Also, I haven't seen the first Saw. I can only compare it to Conjuring, which I haven't seen since like middle school. But so actually, you know what? For that reason, I will not contribute to that thought because
I don't expect anyone to agree, but like, other than Saw, I don't find any of his horror movies particularly impressive, except maybe the first Conjuring.
I will say with Malignant.
Have you watched Insidious recently?
I didn't care for it much then. I rewatched it a couple years ago. I still went, yeah, it's fine.
Okay, that's.
I will say with Malignant, it's I feel like it's at its strongest when it is just being like big and goofy.
And also, much like Furious 7, Malignant is, of course, the greatest movie ever made.
You're not wrong. So yeah, I can see that reasoning. Where like, because even like my recollection of Conjuring is that it is a pretty big and grandiose for like a haunted house movie. At least in like its filming. So I guess that would make sense that he just, you know, he got his name in horror. That like his instincts are just better suited to blockbuster action stuff.
He thinks big, for sure. And honestly, I mean, Saw's my favorite James Wan movie, but Furious 7 is a surprisingly close second, I think. I don't know. Furious 7, I love this movie, man. And like, it's because here's the thing. The last podcast we did on a Fast and Furious movie, which was F9, we mostly say, yeah, it's goofy, it's funny, whatever. It's just goofy fun. This movie is like, it's goofy fun, but pushed up to 11, and like what Joseph was talking about, with the emotional stakes attached too. Because everything with Paul Walker's character feels really legit because of the emotional impact. of his death, meaning that this is his last movie, it's almost impressive because there are clearly some. It's clear to me that the original plot line of the movie was in part Paul Walker struggling with domestic life. And I imagine in the original version of this movie, it was going to lead to a, oh, I can do both thing. While in the version we got, it was him just steadily retiring, which leads to the hilarious thing where his wife, for some goddamn reason, keeps getting involved in these international action espionage missions in the later movies, while Paul Walker is just the stay-at-home father. Kind of funny. Yeah, don't send the FBI cop husband. No, my wife is suited for this. My wife, who previous job experience includes bartender.
She's a pure blood Toretto. We'll send in the Torettos. She can handle it.
Yeah, there is an implication that the Torettos have like magic in their blood.
I mean,
don't they make a Star
Theron...
Wars reference to the Torettos in fucking F9?
No, but they have a really funny thing where they go, "Oh, of course you're related to John Cena. You have the same chin."
No, it was some weird line about like their Nordic blood.
Oh yeah, the Nordic blood.
Where it's like you could have just left it at.
It was. Fuck. We should have known after he said race wars in this movie. Good God, Vin
Like,
Diesel's
just leave
a
it.
eugenicist.
Just leave it like they're both big giant slabs of meat men. You could just leave it. Oh, they're half brothers. Like they got this different skin tones from the different parents, unrelated parents. But like I feel like they overcomplicated, made it weird. Now I'm making it weird, bringing up
the Nordic blood. Didn't they like introduce another like Toretto family member in the last movie? Hold on.
Well, after you figure that out, I guess we figure out like what's everyone's like favorite like one-liner or just favorite like little moment.
I'm calling dibs on Daddy's Got to Get to Work.
Well, I was gonna say, is it? I'm pretty sure that's just everyone's favorite.
How can you pick anything other than that one?
Exactly.
That's true. My second favorite would be the street one. Maybe
Same.
Up there would be the Rock's improv forehead comment.
That's from the last movie, but
that
yeah.
was from the sixth.
Oh wait, really?
That is a good one.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought it was.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Better hide that big ass forehead.
Yeah.
And then Ludacris genuine doing a spit take is so great. Honestly, a really underrated one for me is when like The Rock pulls up and picks up the minigun, and Letty's like, where's the cavalry? And he just goes, woman, I am the cavalry. And then walks away with a minigun.
It is funny. We're talking so much about this movie. We talked about so much about Jason Statham's introduction, but we aren't talking about him. I guess he hasn't come up too much since, and I am starting to realize
he's not in the movie that much. Actually,
yeah,
he isn't.
He's not a great villain, I guess. Like he's just a good villain.
His introduction is just incredible.
His introduction is great, but yeah, no, he's a really good thug, is what he is.
When you like think back on the Fast and Furious movies, my mind immediately jumps to Jason Statham is the best villain. Purely off the fucking nutso gonzo shit off the first scene alone. I don't think I can describe that as gonzo. I'm using that word wrong. Anyway, but like he's barely in the movie. But then again, the street fight where like they're basically doing a lightsaber duel with pipes. That's actually kind of fucking awesome. Yeah, no,
I know everyone makes fun of like the anime trope that the series falls into, where like every villain becomes like a supporting character in the next movie, but like he works better. He works better like that in Fate of the Furious. So I can't complain.
When him and his brothers show up in Fate of the Furious and they're like tossing a baby back and forth during a fight scene.
Yeah.
That's like the closest the Fate of the Furious got to feeling like Furious 7. That and zombie cars.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
And of course, the torpedo, Rock moving the torpedo with his arm.
Oh yeah, that's actually maybe the Fate of the Furious is better than I remember.
I think it might be. I struggle to say it's the second best one, but it might be my second favorite one.
It has like the most interesting stuff going on plot wise, with Vin being forced to be the villain for half the movie. Like that's kind of cool. I don't know why we're still stuck with Charlize Theron in these movies though. At least she got better haircuts. The Simple Jack haircut in that movie was not working for her. Except arguably her F9 haircut is worse. No, she has a Simple Jack in the newest movie.
No, she has Simple Jack in F9. In
which one does she has like dreadlocks? Is that this one?
I always get mixed
Fate
up.
of the Furious is where she has dreadlocks.
Okay, does she have normal hair in this movie?
She's not in this.
She's
movie.
not even in Furious 7.
I meant in Fate of the Furious.
She goes dreadlocks, Simple Jack, and
then normal haircut.
So I can't say.
Hold on, guys. I'm looking up Charlize Theron, Fast and Furious. Oh my God, that's what her hair looks like in Fate of the Furious? She went from like white guy dreadlocks to Simple Jack, and then finally they went, okay, we'll let her have normal hair in the next movie. What were we talking about?
Furious 7.
It is. Kurt Russell's in this movie.
I want to mention I want to mention a
whatever.
scene with Kurt Russell, because there's another really great bit where it's like Vin Diesel and Kurt Russell are talking, and Kurt Russell's like, what's a pandemic you're most fascinated by? Smallpox, tuberculosis, and then Vin just goes, I'm more of a Corona man myself.
No.
No one.
You can't say that.
No one. Ignoring the future implications of that line, no one does shameless product placement quite like the Furious 7 team.
I remember it was like a big shock when like F9 he was drinking Budweiser. I remember bringing that up on the podcast. I think I remember being like, I'm docking half a point because he's not drinking Coronas.
It's a shame.
So like, speaking of the Kurt Russell character, he's great. It's awesome whenever he's in this movie. Did you know he was not their first choice?
Oh God, who was their first choice?
Well, I'm gonna get to their first choice. I'm gonna give you some of the other names they considered.
Okay.
For the, again, this is for the same part that Kurt Russell got.
Okay.
Halle Berry. They apparently considered casting her.
Okay.
Taylor Lautner.
Oh no!
What?
Oh no!
That doesn't make any sense.
Which makes me think the character was very different.
I
maybe
could,
they tried to rewrite the hell out of no. Or go ahead, Joe, actually.
I could theoretically buy Halle Berry in that role. I cannot fucking buy Taylor Lautner in that role.
Well,
what
guys,
are you talking about?
What if I told you that I think Taylor Lautner was only considered when they were going to drastically rewrite that character after their first choice said no?
Oh God.
Because guys, I shit you not, they offered the part of Mr. Nobody to none other than Denzel fucking Washington.
Oh my God!
That would have been great. That would have been great.
Okay.
That would have been amazing.
So their first pick and their actual pick are both actors that like immediately like elevate your movie.
Yeah. I think
Jesus.
Halle Berry, she wouldn't have maybe, she's not a, oh, this movie is automatically elevated sort of level actress, but like,
Oh no.
I think she would have been good. That would have been a, Taylor, that doesn't make any sense. That's so odd. Such an odd
Taylor
decision.
Lautner does not make any sense. Halle Berry,
IMDb could be
I
lying
could
about
buy
me
it.
on that one. I don't know.
That is the
I
most
do
perplexed
wanna
I've ever
believe-
been on this podcast.
I want to believe that Denzel Washington was offered and he said no.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So here's a fun fact, guys. Did you guys know that this was the first film in the franchise to feature an Oscar-nominated actor?
Was it?
I'm not shocked. I mean, it is Fast and Furious. That's more of a half an insult to the Academy.
Yeah, that this movie hasn't won Best Picture every year since. I agree. Djimon Housen, two-time Academy Award nominee.
Yeah, Jaimin Hansu.
Yeah, I never can pronounce his name right. Yeah, In America and Blood Diamond, two-time Academy Award nominee, and he just plays a random henchman. Tony Jaa is in this movie, by the way.
He is, yeah.
I think it's his first English role.
And he gets his ass kicked by Paul Walker.
Deserved.
You know, for this movie, yes. Given
Yeah.
everything that's happened, yes.
Yeah.
If the unfortunate things that occurred in real life didn't happen, we would be making fun of this like nobody's business.
Well, the interesting thing is that actually, this is gonna sound bad,
Okay.
and I don't know how to say this without making it sound bad, but it could be argued that the death of Paul Walker made this a better movie, because of one, the emotional resonance,
I
and
hate
two,
to admit it. Yeah.
Paul Walker's death caused them to delay filming. This movie was supposed to come out in 2014.
Yeah.
It had to get delayed to 2015.
Yeah.
And because of some of the rewrites, all of a sudden, Dwayne Johnson wasn't busy filming Hercules and could partake in this movie. You notice how Dwayne's like missing from the movie until like the third act?
Yeah.
That's partially why. He was busy filming Hercules.
Interesting.
You know, yeah, I hate to admit it, but you're not wrong, Tanner. I
If
don't
Paul
think...
Walker hadn't died, we wouldn't get Daddy's Got to Get to Work Flex cast.
I also just don't think this movie is as universally beloved if the unfortunate circumstances didn't happen.
I mean, it's so emotionally resonant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It genuinely sucks to say that, but like, it would just be another movie you watch on TNT when it's raining and you've got nothing to do. And
Instead, now it's the movie you see on TNT and you go, I gotta lock in.
I was gonna say it's the one, maybe two Fast and Furious movies that you actually sit down and watch. The other one probably being 5.
The other one being Tokyo Drift. I agree.
Yeah, no, I
Speaking, sorry, Rein. Speaking.
no,
of,
I've been interrupting you
Tokyo
the whole
Drift,
time, so you go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Rein. But I'm still going to apologize. But you mentioned Tokyo Drift. I want to bring up the one fucking funny part of this movie. Specifically with the lead of Tokyo Drift, Lucas Black.
I forgot he's in this.
Fresh out of high school.
So they cut to footage from like the end of Tokyo, like it's the actual ending of Tokyo Drift that they shot, and then it hard cuts to new footage that they shot. Lucas Black ages like 15 years in the span of like 1 second.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh hey, it's a 30-year-old high school student. Oh, he's 45 now.
I forgot about that.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. I know, based on Joe's current list right now, I know Tokyo Drift is like your least favorite, it seems like, but I think it's funny. My girlfriend, she hates these movies, but that's like the one. That's like the Tokyo Drift is like the one she's like, that one's fine, I guess.
Fast and Furious haters universally across the board seem to really like Tokyo Drift.
It's one of, I mean, I'm a Fast and Furious lover, but
I like all of them.
It's probably it's like my third or fourth favorite.
Forget about it, cuh.
I'm laughing because I'm trying to remember. Oh, it's like Space Jam.
I said forget about it, cuh.
No, because I'm trying to think. It's like the reason why I don't like it. It's the reverse thing with Space Jam, where it's like Tokyo Drift actually kind of tries to be a movie, where the rest of these are just like, oh, we're just gonna. It's like hitting Hot Wheels together, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like I called Space Jam a commercial, and then Space Jam: A New Legacy, it tries to be a movie, which, man, oh man, in retrospect, very funny statements. Very fucking funny statements.
Yeah.
Fucking Space Jam: A New Legacy. Well, hold on. No, I am okay. I'm getting back on my Space Jam soapbox. I will still.
All
Partially...
right. So, final thoughts on Furious 7. Rein, go ahead.
I did forget to mention earlier. We are getting to an hour. It's a beautiful movie. You could argue a dumb movie. But you can absolutely under no circumstances say it's a dumbly made movie. I feel like I could have done something better, but that's what I got. Back to you, Tanner. Thank you.
Doing like that Trump gif where he points and thumbs up like the. Joseph, final thoughts. Go.
I don't know if the Cardi B cameo in F9 is really gonna date that movie, but man, oh man, Iggy Azalea's appearance in this movie, it really fucking dates it. But either way, dated cameo or not, movie good. Back
Cardi B is still very famous, while Iggy Azalea was arguably already on the way out the door when this movie came out.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's that for you. My final thoughts on this is the greatest movie ever made. And I got two things to hit it with, right? This is, of course, a dudes rock movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's arguably the hardest dudes have ever rocked.
Mm-hmm.
But you may remember, we all agreed our favorite line in this movie is Daddy's got to get to work. Which means Dwayne Johnson's character in this movie, and so is Paul Walker's character in this movie, they are both fathers. Dads! Rock! Baby!
There we go. He blew out his mic and everything.
You know who else rocks, baby?
What?
You, the person watching / listening to this noise complaint in my apartment. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. If you're listening on any of the audio platforms we're on, thank you so much for listening. How about you mosey on down over below and leave us a review? It helps boost us in the algorithm or something.
Algorithm.
It's the algorithm. Is that Don Cheadle? Boost us in the algorithm or something. And while you're listening, how about you mosey on down over to our Patreon? With a $5 tier, get you access to commentary tracks. Just today when we're recording this, we released one for the three of us, did one for the 2003 director's cut of the Daredevil movie. Ugh.
Yeah.
And we have Tim and I just recorded one for Godzilla. So you'll want to tune into that. And the $10 tier gets you a shout out at the end of the episode. So my mom, Tanya Kraft, we appreciate you and supporting Bomb Squad in all of its streams. And how about you also mosey on down over to our merch store? That's right, bombsquadproductions.shop. You can buy a t-shirt, you can buy a hoodie, you can buy a hat, you can buy a poster. But more importantly, you can buy a hat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you oh so very much for watching. We really appreciate it. How about you mosey on down over to the comment section below and let me know, what do you think of Furious 7? Is this the greatest movie ever made? Is it your favorite movie in the Fast and Furious franchise? And finally, Race Wars. What's up with it? Comment below and let me know. While you're down there, hit the like button so we know how much you like us. Hit the subscribe button so we know how much you love us. Hit the bell icon to know exactly when we upload new videos. Thank you so very much for watching. We'll see you next time. For the first ever episode, hosted by Cody Suiso, we're going to be talking about the 2005 King Kong movie. Should be fun. I haven't seen it in over 10 years, so it should be an interesting time. We'll see you then. Bye.
But Tanner, it's never goodbye.
It's never goodbye, family.
I slid my ticket across the table and I said, "Sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl."